and welcome to another episode of The Glass Girls, brought to you by Regency Glass. I'm Nat.
And I'm Lauren, and today on the podcast we have Faye Collins, who is the marketing director at Statuo, and Richard Render, who is the managing director at Buzzbear.
Hello to you both.
Hi.
Hello, thanks for having us.
Today?
Yeah, good.
Good. So we thought we'd start first of all with both of you and what your job role entails, and how long you've been in your position, where you're currently at. So do you want to start then?
Yeah. So I am the marketing director at Statuo. So Statuo is an integrated web agency. So we do design, development, and marketing all in-house. As the marketing director, I basically oversee all of our projects. So any web projects and any marketing strategies, I'm kind of your first port of call, and then we roll that then through the rest of the team.
Nice one. What about you, Rich?
Yeah, so Buzzbear is a design and marketing agency. So we cover everything from brand inception through to delivery. So we are effectively an all-encompassing colouring in department. We do everything from initial concept through to delivery of websites and brand design, really.
Nice one.
So both go hand in hand, and we have worked together with both. You have various projects. So just a bit of your background and how you did get to obviously where you've got to today. So how did you end up where you are today now, Faye? What did your career path look like?
A little bit wobbly. Basically, I wanted to be a teacher, and then I didn't want to be a teacher. After a year of uni, I realised I didn't want to be a teacher. And I was working at Bolton Wanderers Stadium, just casual, like working on the bar, etc. And I was like, I really need a job because I'm quitting uni. And my mum was like, you need a job if you're quitting uni. So there was an opening in the office, in the events team. Obviously, I'd worked in the events, like on the ground. So I ended up applying, got the job in the office. Loved it, moved. I did about 2 years there, moved to Manchester United to do a similar job at Manchester United because I supported United, and I was like, that's where we're going.
Why not?
Why not? And basically got a lot more into like the marketing of the event. So the events at United were obviously a lot bigger than they were at Bolton Wanderers. So they were a lot of like tourism events. So they'd be like big trade shows where there were people coming from all over the world. And I was like, got really into the how do they get all those delegates here? Like, how are you marketing to them all? How are you telling them all to come here to this one singular place in Manchester? They're coming from like Hamburg and places like that. So yeah, I loved that aspect of it and really wanted to get into it.
So it piqued your interest, it
really piqued my interest, and then I started looking into like agencies and stuff like that, having never even known what an agency was before. Obviously, because I was doing this, I was working with agencies, and I was like, God, your job looks cool. And then ended up someone, Chris from Absolute in Horwich gave me my first shot at an agency job, and I've been doing it ever since. And loved it.
No way. Yeah. Amazing. What about yourself, Rich? How long have you been in the industry? What was your journey to where you are today?
Oh God, I started when crayons were still in fashion, me. So I think I've got a few years on Faye in a couple of years. So I mean, starting where Faye started, went straight out of school. I wanted to go in the army, but 16 was kind of around when Iraq and Afghanistan was kicking off, and mum and dad were not happy with that. They didn't want me going over there. So they said, look, you're going to have to do something at college. And the only real thing I was good at was drawing. So graphic design seemed like a natural progression. So did design technology at college, went to university and did a fine art degree. I was the only person in my course without a nose piercing or blue hair. So didn't really feel like I fit in very much. So deferred to graphic design out of fine art. And kind of progressed from there. Not as sexy a career path as Faye. I started in bathroom and plumbing. So my first job was with a company called Smith's up in Lostock. As a marketing junior, and then from there moved into sports marketing. I've even done some stuff for an adult wear company, which was arguably the worst job in the world, designing DVD covers for dodgy blokes in Macs, but it was it was an experience. I tend to leave that off my CV. But after doing in-house for probably about 10 years, I moved into agency work. And kind of felt like I'd regressed a little bit in agency. I liked the agency environment because it was cooler, it was fresher, it seemed a little bit more exciting, but they seem to stifle your creativity a little bit. I didn't feel like I had the autonomy that I had in-house. So I kind of moved back into in-house work and ended up at a translation company. So I was based in Belgium half my time, Manchester half my time, did a lot of travelling, and I loved that. However, the travelling kind of wears you down after a bit, once the novelty wears off. So went from there to a little place called Bongo's Bingo, and loved it for the 8 months that I was there, but my liver didn't love it as much. So once I'd left them, I kind of said, like, look, I'm at an age now where if I don't do something that has longevity, I'm just going to keep job jumping. So I decided to set up on my own. So we set up MCCM, Manchester Creative Collective Marketing, in 2019. Got 5 years out of that business and decided to rebrand this year. And we're now, in the Buzzbear era.
As you know, Faye, we Regency got involved with Statuo in designing the website. So do we want to just go over a little bit of how the vision of that and how that all came about? And obviously we got introduced to yourselves. So do we want to just go over a little bit of that, and obviously Statuo's involvement in that, and how that project looked to Statuo and how that all came about?
I mean, you guys approached us, didn't you, with just kind of come and have a chat. We're looking for a new site, and then I think obviously, you know, it was Regency Glass, and we were like, I'd seen the vans but hadn't came here, and we were like, oh my god, from the current website that you had, we were like, this is not what we expected to walk into, this like amazing building. So yeah, it shocked me when we got here, and then obviously we met you guys, and you're all quite young and cool. It's just not what, obviously it's not what you expected, having known nothing about you before we arrived here. And then and obviously once you started giving us like your vibe and your vision for the site, we were like, this could be really cool, and I love that. That's why I love what I do, because a lot of our clients are B2C, sorry, B2B, not B2C, and it's kind of seen as like the unsexy cousin of like B2C marketing, isn't it? But I love it when like companies are brave with the websites and the branding, and that's what you guys were. We were like, have you got any kind of websites that you like? And you're like, yeah, Apple.
I know. I think this is a great point that you brought up though, about the fact that you walked in here and the website wasn't representative of what Regency is as a company and the people that are here. And I think Richard said the exact same thing as that, and that's one of the things that over the past 12 months we've really had to work on and try and develop and bring ourselves a lot more in line with when you step into this building, matching that aesthetic on the outside. Because it's like you said, you just don't expect to not at all looking when you walk in here, do you? And so
not at all.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. I think we did design in the brief on Apple.
You did, it was. We were like, is there anything you like? And we were like, yeah, I love it on the Apple website. We scroll down, the phone turns around, and we were like, right, we can do that. Let's do that with glass. So we did.
We've got that on the homepage, haven't we? If you've not been on the website, as you scroll down, we've got a unit that basically is a parallax scroll. It tells you all the cool different bits. So that was quite a challenge getting that designed.
Yeah, because that had a lot of moving parts to it, obviously, with you guys having to get the renders and stuff done in a specific way for us. But it looks really cool, and it's just completely separates you apart from your competitors, the website, the style of it. And I love that you were brave enough to go for that kind of that design, as opposed to a lot of people love it in theory, and then when it comes to actually doing it, they're like, oh no, actually no, our customers won't like that. Where you were like, well, it's cool. Let's go for it.
So there was an idea to basically, we launched a performance glazing range. So we've got 14 units, and our aim with this was to basically the end consumer to understand what they needed. So we have a questionnaire on the website. It's called Glass for Your Home. We had to create that as well. So will you just take us through the steps of how we got to that and what that entailed?
I think I probably drove Faye slightly partially mentally insane with this, because I think it changed. As a lot of projects at Regency
did change a lot.
Not at all.
Honestly, not at all. But it was something that didn't exist on the previous website, wasn't it? So you basically wanted, we call them Mr. and Mrs. Jones, but them to understand what glass unit they needed for their home, which the old website never did it? It only ever spoke to your tradies, to your glass fitters and to your businesses. And so, we created this kind of engaging, informative questionnaire where you fill in questions about your homes like, how many bedrooms have we got, and all these kind of questions. And then the guys over at Regency, they created this like matrix spreadsheet of answers, and it basically, based on your answers, comes out with, this is what glass you need. You can then take that to your chosen supplier, and there you go, you can get the glass. So I suppose the only kind of complex bit was your side, really. Was the algorithm and the workings out of like, if I answer yes to this question and that question and that question, what glass are you going to recommend me? But yeah, I think it works really well. It's really cool.
Yeah, because I think one of the things that we were obviously trying to build with this is that we wanted to give a little bit more education to the end user.
Yes.
And also to our customers as well, so that they've got the tools then to go out and educate Mr. or Mrs. Jones on exactly what they need in their house. Because there is a lot of, people go into what colour profile and what handles and all that kind of stuff, but the actual glass side of it, there's a lot of information that they don't know. They don't know that laminated can make your house safer. There's a lot of different things that when you're speccing your house, sometimes aren't necessarily explained to the end user. So we wanted to try and bridge that gap a little bit more than obviously what we previously had done before. So how many people at Statuo were involved in the design? What did the team setup look like at Statuo for building the website?
So we have a front-end developer, a back-end developer, and then we had our lead designer and our copywriter. So they all kind of work together. So the way that we work is we obviously came and pitched you a design which was literally like probably 2 or 3 pages, if I'm remembering rightly. The way we normally do it is we would be 2 or 3 pages and we're like, what do you think of this? And then we kind of build and develop on that as it goes forward. So it doesn't kind of go into development stage until obviously you guys are happy for that and you'd sign the designs off. But we had to have our front-end developer involved in the process right from the start because of things like the parallax scroll and stuff like that. Just making sure, are you still okay to do this? Are you still okay to do this? How do you need this supply in, etc. before we go, we can do that. And then he's sat there going... So we always have to show him before we show the client. We say that with 95% of the time, we show him before we show the client.
We enjoyed the process, to be fair. When it's something that you don't do every day, it was really interesting to learn about it.
Yeah.
And having to think about, I suppose, like a lot of clients, like they don't think about how stuff works in the back system, like that spreadsheet. When you're like, if they just answer some questions, and then it'll tell them what glass they need, and it's like, that's fine, but... And then I need you to give me that, and then it's obviously for you guys. It's then looking at how pulling all that together and looking at how that works.
Absolutely, makes sense. So, Rich, our marketing department, quite shiny and new, isn't it? We've been going for about a year, but you worked with Regency when it came to the design of our training program, which we're going to discuss on another podcast. But what made us push marketing? Because it was kind of yourself who was chatting to us about it.
Yeah, I think going back to what Faye said at the top of her answer just then, the marketing and the outward comms just didn't reflect who you guys really were. And knowing Nat and Brad and having met you, and then getting to know the team, there's a lot of knowledge and a lot of expertise and a lot of experience within the industry just sat within Regency, and I don't think that the outward comms was conveying that really. It was kind of like, well, this is who we are, this is kind of what we do, and this is how you get in contact with us. And obviously it was a bit of a chicken and egg scenario because we knew at the point that we were commissioned to come in and support that Faye had already been commissioned to do the website. So usually the way things happen in like brand comms are, you set up a brand guideline, you set up your look, you feel, your tone of voice, and that dictates the website. It was kind of flipped on its head a little bit in this instance, in the sense that Faye and her team were already building something which kind of drove how we started producing copy for the training program, generating stuff for social media, and just getting to grips with obviously how you guys had written stuff to make sure that there was a consistency. And I think that we always say this, and it sounds like a proper like Michael Owen comment, like if you don't score goals you can't win games. But it's the same in marketing, like if you're not doing stuff you're not seen. So not being present on social media, not having a website that was ranking or actually doing anything for the end user, not training your staff internally and giving them the knowledge base that they need to communicate product and services was ultimately what you guys needed to achieve. And the good thing was you wanted to achieve it. So I think, Faye touched on it briefly, like you guys knew what you wanted to do when we came in. We were just facilitators of that. And obviously working alongside you, Laws, like, not blowing smoke up anyone, but she's a great asset to the team. She has great ideas. She drives me as much as I drive her, and we come up with good content. And hopefully, touch wood, it is being reflected in stuff like this, like the podcast, and the social media. yeah, such veneer. But I mean, ultimately, it was about generating a consistency, and that consistency was kind of already there internally, it just wasn't outward facing.
Yeah, it was something that we never really showed externally.
Yeah, and then like you throw in little, and it has been a fun project, like working on things like, I remember being in the boardroom and Brad coming in and going, we've had an idea, Rich. We want a mascot for the brand. And I was like, oh, right, okay. Like, obviously, Faye's been at Man United. They've got Fred the Red. I work at Lee Leopards. They've got Leto. And he was like, we want to introduce this rhino. I was like, right, okay. It's the concept behind this. But I was like, who is this rhino? Like, you know what I mean? So I thought Brad was going to get like a full-on suit and parade around the office dressed as
There's still time.
There's still is time. But when you look at like the attributes of a rhino, like it's tough, it's sturdy, it's family focused, because this is a family business still after all these years. There are a lot of kind of attributes from the rhino that fall in line with the brand, and it was good for me as a brand person to be able to kind of tie those two together. And then we come up with the name, which it seems the most common sense name in the world, Reg, because Regency, just take the first 3 letters. I swear to God, it wasn't a lazy choice. It just seemed to work. And yeah, we've developed it from there, and I think we've got a good synergy now, I think, between all of the agencies that we work with, obviously Statuo, Mighty Giant, Buzzbear, and you guys. I think there's a mutual respect there of what we're trying to achieve, and we're all kind of pushing in the same direction, which is what you want.
Yeah, everyone brings different things to the table, and I feel like it strengthens us as a team,
definitely.
Personally. It's been a huge benefit.
I think it's like you said about the building. When you walk in, there's such a high attention to detail in every single area that you turn. Obviously, we can't show you the offices just from this one area, but literally when it comes down to branding in the offices and everything, when you look around, everything is a certain way. You go on the shop floor, there's the slogan, so people know exactly what we stand for. And I think it's like you said, it's been a process over the last 12 months of trying to get that externally facing and try and get that message out to people who aren't in this building all the time.
But that process won't stop, because I mean, it sounds a little bit cliche and cheesy, but like branding, websites, marketing, it's all evolutionary, not revolutionary. Right. So anything that's done in marketing has been done 1,000, probably more times before, and it's coming up with exciting ways of communicating your brand in the way that you do it, rather than trying to reinvent the wheel, isn't it?
Yeah, correct. That's authentic to read. Yeah. Going back to your specific industries now, how much has your respective industry changed over the years, and the years that you've worked in it, and what do you both think are the most significant trends in those industries?
I mean, I've worked in different types of agencies. So when the first agency that I worked in was creative and brand agency. So we did do websites, but non-complex websites, because the development infrastructure wasn't necessarily there to do. So we could do basically what we call brochure sites. And it was a creative and brand agency, and the creative director there was so hot on brand. The owner of the agency was like he would just get so angry all the time because he wouldn't let anything out the studio unless it was perfect. Yeah. But obviously, so the MD was like, yeah, but there is a budget. There is a budget. Yeah, it's a fine balance. Stop working on it. And he was like, nope, not sending it yet. Everybody stay until 10 o'clock. Order some pizzas, we're staying until 10. And it was like, it was so, he'd come from Manchester agencies, so he was so kind of in that, it's still in that vibe. And we were all like, all right then, okay. And then I went from there, I then moved to a performance marketing agency, which was literally just SEO, PPC, and affiliate marketing. And that was so, at the time, I was like, oh my God, this is the complete opposite. They were spend as little time as possible to get the most results possible. And I was like, whoa, this is so different. And I think the way it's changed is like in that agency, that performance marketing agency I was in, everything was so like old school. Like, everything was done on like Excel documents and stuff like that. And do you know what I mean? Everything was manual. It was so very like old school, and I didn't know anything different at the time. And then from there, I've then moved to Statuo, which is the nice blend of the two. We've got the creative agency aspect of it, but also we do performance marketing. Yeah. But we all kind of work together to do that for our clients. But there are so many tools that make our job just a lot easier now. I think previously, like I said, like every client had their own spreadsheet, and like ranking reports were in spreadsheets, and you know, everything was manual. You'd be like screenshotting pictures of graphs and putting them in reports. And there's just a lot of softwares and AI out there now that mean that we can actually focus a lot more on strategy and where you want to be
than the reporting
than the manual aspect of actually doing the work isn't as heavy anymore. So you get more time dedicated to you for actually marketing, the creative and the actual marketing side. They're getting the results. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to, you know, we had a lot of clients at that agency that I was at that were in London, and you know, like your billable hours, like they'd want 4 of us to go down once a month to present their meeting, and obviously like I'm leaving the house at 6 and I'm getting back at like 10 at night. 4 people are doing that, and that's going on your bill. That's coming off your hours for us actually doing the work. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And then now it's just like, oh, let's just jump on a Teams call.
Yeah, so technology's advanced.
Just technology's it's advanced, but I don't think it not at a detriment to like what we do, because I know a lot of people are like concerned about AI taking over like our jobs, whereas I really don't see that. The only way that I see it working is it helps us to help our clients, because the things that are shit and nobody wants to do, AI can do, and the things that are really fun and actually get you the results, we still do. We can just do more of.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
No, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
What would you say, Rich?
Yeah, I'd probably mirror what Faye's just said. Then I think when I started, a lot of it was conceptual paper, pen to paper. You know, you'd do some jotting down, you'd do some logos, you'd scan it in, you'd then render that on screen, and a lot of that is kind of null and void now. There are still a few old school agencies that do that, but in terms of obviously the creative process, it's sped up massively now, even more so with the advent of AI. There is an argument that AI has diluted the creative sector ever so slightly, just because it has bred a generation of bedroom designers. So people who download Canva, people who understand how to use the basics on ChatGPT, Midjourney, these AI platforms that are readily available to Joe Public. And they type a few prompts in there, they get a few ideas off Pinterest or Google, and they generate something like that. Actually, the process behind concept brand delivery is a lot more elongated than that. It's getting into the customer mindset, it's understanding the customer ethos, their values, and generating something that suits them, not just something that looks okay. But yeah, I mean, the industry has come on leaps and bounds. I mean, I remember going into work and my manager going, there's a job bag on your desk, and the job bag would be like one of those cellophane paper holders with like 15 pieces of paper in, and the brief would be on there, and then there'd be like boxes that you'd have to fill in for concept, and then you'd give that back, he'd then read it, approve it. Everything's done online now. I mean, I am still a massive advocate of face-to-face meetings, just because you get to know people better, you get to know their personality, you get to know their icks, you know what I mean? To coin a phrase my 17-year-old daughter says, gives me the ick. I'm probably giving her the ick now if she watches this. But yeah, like you get to know them better, and I think that's something that you can't get over email or Zoom calls or meetings. But yeah, I mean, technology, to put things into a nutshell, has improved and enhanced what we do and what we can offer. And I built like my team on a young, forward-thinking, technologically savvy team, and at the forefront of that is social media. Like when I started, I think I had a MySpace account.
MySpace.
If anyone remembers what MySpace was.
Yeah.
MySpace, downloading Blink 182 tracks off Napster and sticking it on MySpace.
Live fire. Yeah.
Now there's like 50
Breaking
apps and you've got to
Yeah.
take on with all.
I mean, we go to clients now and we say, like, what social media channels are you on? And then the ones that they rhyme off, you're like, why are you on like 40 social media channels?
Yeah.
And I think that it's getting a strategy in place that says, like, look, you don't need to be on TikTok if you're a mainstream corporate.
Yeah.
It might be nice for you to be on TikTok, but really, who are you
Yeah,
communicating
who are you
to?
targeting?
Likewise with Instagram and Facebook, if you are a predominantly corporate and business-to-business focused entity, just focus on LinkedIn, focus on the platforms that work for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, social media is another one that's kind of driven us in terms of advancement.
I think that's a key thing, isn't it? I think it's the same in our industry as well with that, and that's probably why we partner so well with you guys. It's using the technology to obviously advance you and where that can benefit your business, because we've done a lot of things over the last few years where we've put certain softwares in and moved forward, and same thing where we're trying to advance our business to make life easier in-house, but then also it's that personal touch where you're making sure that you're delivering on those things that what you say. I think we definitely felt that from both yourselves. So it's one of those, isn't it, where I think that's, again, that partnership and working with people who've got that personal touch. AI is never going to... It's never going to move on, is it? No matter how much it can help, there's always going to be that personal touch that people need and want.
Absolutely.
So, we have a tradition on the podcast, don't we?
We do, yes.
So, our slogan here, as you both may know or may not know, hope Rich does at least, for those who actually...
You better know.
Our slogan is, the difference is clear. So what we started doing at the end of every podcast is we've been asking whoever comes on, what do they think the difference is?
I think the difference here is innovation. I do not know many other glass companies, strangely enough. They're not somewhere I frequent at the weekends. But coming here, I can absolutely tell that you are steps ahead of anyone else within this industry, and I can tell that by the way that your office is, the way that you guys act, your uniforms, down to every little last bit is considered, and I love that, and I know full well that there's nowhere else in the UK, there's no other glass company in the UK where I'd go and be like, oh, this is cool, but here is, and that's what I think the difference is with you guys. I think the team that you've got is innovative, and you want to move forward and do something different in the industry, as opposed to just keep doing things how they've been done, I think.
I think it's the people that drive that innovation. I think getting to know pretty much every member of staff here and spending at least a little bit of time with all of you is given me a real insight into how a proper structured business runs. Each individual plays a part. You're all a cog in a bigger machine. And ultimately, that's what drives the innovation and the quality that you guys do.
Faye, Rich, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate you coming on, and we hope you had as much fun as we did shooting the episode of The Glass Girls.
I'm touch wood again.
Thank you for having us.
No, thank you for coming down, and we'll see you all again soon for the next episode of The Glass Girls. See you soon.